What's going on, guys? This is Scott, and welcome to the Drip, home of the 150% guarantee, where 100% of the time I'm going to be over 50% right. That's correct. And every knife has a story. We try to find at least a portion or part of that story in the journey going forward. All comments, all commentary, all thoughts, ideas are mine. These are opinions. And I'm kind of in the process myself, just like everybody out there, where we're just at some point along our journey in life as well. And so we're going to do what we do best, talk about knives, things we enjoy. Thank you for being a part of it. Today we're going to talk about the Microtech Combat Troodon. By the way, I'm on Instagram. If you want to give me a follow, Casey Blade Drip. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, here we go. The Microtech Combat Troodon. I had been thinking about this for some time, doing a quick little thoughts and review, or kind of just opinions on this particular knife. I've done a couple Ultratech videos before where I went into a little bit more in-depth detail regarding the firing action and kind of OTFs in general, which is out the front. And like always, make sure you check your knife laws where you're at. If you're able to carry or own one of these, those can be tricky, and unfortunately in a lot of places you can't have these carry. Sometimes you can own them but not carry them. So I can't possibly know where you reside, what those laws are. So back to the Microtech Combat Troodon. Now this is, I don't think this is at this point, it's not one of the largest dual action OTFs. I think it's the second largest. I know that they make a Scarab 2, which that one it's bigger than this. And it's a production dual action OTF. And then they have the Halo, which is a single action, which is larger than this. And then, of course, the Combat Troodon here. Then there's a regular Troodon, and then an Ultratech, and then a UTX 85, UTX 70, etc. So just to kind of name a few, and those are all from Microtech. Now this knife itself, this is, to start off, and we'll kind of go over some of the features and things about this knife. This is a straight up, this is a fighting knife. This is a defensive knife. As you can see with this particular blade style, which is the double edge. I mean, this is going to be piercing, stabbing, puncturing. It's pretty much what the function is going to be on this. As I said, it's dual action, meaning that you're going to go ahead and use your button here as far as you go ahead and push this forward to fire it, and then to retract it, you use the thumb switch here. Now, sometimes that can be a little stiff on, especially some of the larger, the Combat Troodon. It just depends. This has a couple of internal springs on the inside. The blade's going to travel along a track. And then when you go ahead and put pressure on this and fire it, that's what's going to bring your blade out. Now, the blade itself is M390. As we can see here, I think most of them nowadays, and the production date on this is February of 21. I think most of their blades are M390. They have a couple of other options. I know they've used LMAX, and I think 204 they've used. But anyways, this is going to be M390. It's made in the United States. Microtechs, other than their recent collaboration that they're doing on the SOCOM Bravo. Most of their knives are made here in the United States. So with the blade itself, you can see how it is that dagger shape that we have. This comes pretty sharp out of the box. This is a flat grind that we can see on the actual blade itself. It's got kind of a, I believe it's a black Cerakote coating on here. And then you've got, I think this is a blood groove right here in the middle. Whereas if you were to stab, then it would not, you'd actually be able to pull it out. It wouldn't suck the knife blade in there. So I think this just allows air to be inside when you puncture and then retract or pull it out so it doesn't get stuck. To kind of go into a little more detail for you. But yeah, it's so the knife itself, you know, pulling it back, you do have the opening here. Just a thing to keep in mind anytime that you have this, of course, if you have it in your pocket or whatnot, things can get inside here. It's just something to be mindful of. Anything that you cut or use on here, you might wipe off if it's something that would be carried back into the housing here. As I was kind of touching base on, you do have on this particular Combat Troodon. Now, a lot of them, there's different styles, there's different colors, there's different blade shapes, and there's just so many options. This is the one that is actually shown in John Wick 2. So it's kind of referred to as being the John Wick 2 knife. I think in John Wick 1, he had an Ultratech, if you're familiar with any of those movies. And then I think in the third one, he used a Cypher. So, but you do have on this particular model the date. This is the serial number here at the top. The handle itself is going to be an all aluminum chassis that we have. It is light to try to reduce some of that weight. You do have proprietary screws on this, all on the front here. You have to have kind of a special tool if you were to open this. I don't, on my OTFs like this, I'm not getting into that mess because that could be a real headache. It's a beautiful knife looking at it. The button itself, you've got kind of the step leading up to the top here. It is a little bit thinner. So when you put your thumb on here, if you're going back and forth, because it is fidgety, it can start wearing a little bit on your thumb if you're continuously doing this, depending on how much tension you actually have on yours. But it's not, I mean, for me, I have no problems doing this. I know that some people I've seen videos are using this and they have to use two hands because they either don't have the strength or the spring may be too strong for them. But yeah, so you have the cool little pattern here. You've got some jimping right behind, jimping here along the other, the lower end towards the pommel or the end of the knife handle here. You've got some jimping underneath. As you can see, looking sideways at the knife, look at the geometry, how you have it where it's a little bit thicker here and it kind of thins down a little bit. So it is kind of contoured, I'm sure, for gripability, if that's when you wrap around it. Now the handle itself, as you can see, you've got a lot of real estate on this handle. This is one of the larger handles. And you have to have it be kind of big. The blade ratio to handle, as you can see, is going to be a lot shorter or smaller, because when you retract this in here, you've got quite a bit of little area down here where it's behind the actual blade when it goes back. So there's other components and such that are inside of this. And that's why it's typically the blades on OTFs are quite a bit smaller than the handle, just by looking at it. Now, with that jimping here, and you've got some contouring, some milling on the side of the handle, as you see here, all the way on both sides. Now, again, they do have other designs. I think they have a step side or different types. I like this one because when I'm holding it in hand, this will actually add to that aluminum so that you have a little bit more texture and grip in your hand. So they're really good for law enforcement or first responders, somebody that would be put, to me, a tactical situation would be the terminology for something to where there could be loss of life, somebody's life is endangered. And so having this to either defend yourself, I think would be the most common benefit with this. The clip itself, it is on this one a deep carry. So you're going to basically, when you drop this into your pocket, it's going to go all the way up here to the tip. All that you're going to have that's going to stick out is going to be your glass breaker. Then you have the Microtech logo here on the clip itself. Being black on this particular one, I like it because it doesn't really show up as much when you have it, clipped on your pocket. And it goes in and out relatively easy. I don't have any hang-ups or any problems on when I put this in and out of my pocket. The glass breaker on this particular model and knife, I think, is actually a good idea because a lot of times the people that would benefit from carrying this, if you have this in your pocket or somehow attached and you needed it and you pulled this out, the handle is adequate and big enough to where you could smash a window if you needed to, and it would definitely work well at that. And you may need that. If you're a police officer or law enforcement and you needed to smash a window, whether you were in pursuit or you were approaching a car, somebody was hurt and they were injured and there was an accident, or for other reasons, you could put this in your hand and smack, and it would do the job for you on that. So on this particular knife, I like it, and the knife is big enough. Some of them that are real short, if you put your hand on there and the glass breaker is up in your hand like this, and you're having to fiddle with it, to me, those wouldn't make as much sense. But for this, it does. The clip itself, I don't know. I think this one may be reversible. To be honest, I haven't taken this one off. I know that some of them aren't, but the way that this looks, this one may be reversible to left-handers. I'm not exactly sure on that, but it is tipped down, obviously, on this particular knife. Let's measure it. I just want to be able to get some measurements on this. And you can take this off. Some people will end up complaining about the glass breaker and they'll just put a screw in here. To each their own, whatever they like to do or want to do. So let's go ahead and, like I said, get a measurement on the knife itself. They've done a lot of torture tests on these type of knives to show their durability and strength as well. This is about, I would say, it's a little over 3.5 inches. The whole blade itself is about it looks like 7.5, but it's a little bit between that and 3.5. The handle is going to be, with the glass breaker, it's going to be 5.5. It looks like 5 and maybe about 1/4 without the glass breaker. So overall, it's a pretty large knife. I mean, 9 inches, 9.25 with the glass breaker overall for both of them. It also is going to weigh a little bit more than some of the smaller knives. So see, this is 5.4 ounces. To me, this is, you know, pretty much, I think, about the top of the weight where you're going to notice it. It is going to cause a little bit of, you know, heft in your pocket. I'm fine with it, but some people, especially if you're used to carrying a smaller knife, you're going to definitely notice this with the weight on your in pocket. Now, another thing is, when you're firing this, people also sometimes are concerned with these, that they're going to go off in their pocket. On that, it's not going to go off in your pocket, because when you push this button, you're having to pull up, push into resistance. And as you can see my finger here, how I'm pushing it quite hard, and it's directly on the button, and it's not firing. You have to take this thing up to about 90% resistance for that to fire. And the chances of this being in your pocket like this, and you're somehow pushing against this, it's not going to happen. I've never heard of an instance, unless there was a malfunction with the knife itself. I haven't heard of one of these just accidentally being pushed and firing. Now, if for some reason it did, one of the safety features on these particular knives, and the Combat Troodon is no exception. Let's take this towel, okay? I'm just gonna fold it up. Let's say this is in you're against your leg or your whatever you're doing, and we're gonna fire into it. I'm gonna just be a couple of inches from this. See, now it might pierce a little bit, but it's not gonna just stab into you. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who have watched videos or own one of these know that it does this. It will come off the tracks on the inside, and then it's just going to be loose, and we can either pull it out or you can, you know, shake it out, but you just pull it out like that, and then you're good to go again. So that's kind of a safety feature that you have with that particular knife, so that you don't have to worry about that going off in your pocket or hurting yourself. Now, with this also, Microtech, they give you a lifetime warranty. Anytime you buy their products and you invest in a Microtech, if you have a problem with it under normal use and you're not basically being an idiot and tearing the thing apart or just doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, if you have problems, you can send this in. They'll sharpen it for free. They'll go ahead and maintenance for you, take care of it for you for free, and then send it back to you. So their warranty program is known to be really a good one to have. Now, the uses, like I said, this thing, basically it's a straight up stabber. You're going to pull this out. The main use for this is if you were in a situation, close quarters, somebody was to either try to grab a hold of you or assault you, and you had no other means to get away, or you were in a situation that you were close to somebody and you had no other options, you could pull this out, and it would be good for being able to try to get them away from you or to defend yourself in that situation. So it would be good for that. And that's essentially what it's intended for, is to be some type of a combat type knife. Just like if you were to look at a bayonet or something, I mean, the style and the shape of this, it's not going to be that great at any type of a slicing task. You can sharpen it up a little bit or do some things, and yes, you could cut things with it, but it's not going to excel at that. This blade style is not meant to just go and be cutting and slicing things. So you can carry it every day. A lot of people just like the feel of these type of knives, to have them and to carry them. And I'm sure that for most people, it's going to do what you need to do. And it's a little bit of a show off, you know, just to be able to have it. It feels good. You know, I mean, we tend to, as people, I think, gravitate to things that are kind of cool, neat, different. And so we gravitate to that. But for what it's meant to be, you know, probably most of us would never be in a situation where we would have to use it for any type of a defensive situation. So it's mainly just, you know, here and there, and it'll open a box. It'll do, you know, cut strings off your shirt. Heck, you could probably even, I would not recommend this for any type of food prep because, and I heard somebody say, you know, oh, hey, you can use this for cutting your food, or I particularly wouldn't, because when you cut food or anything like fruit or whatever, when you retract this, it can take it back inside and it can get everything gunked up. Now, with that being said, if you should have to maintain or clean this, what they recommend doing is taking a can of this rim oil, spray it inside, you know, just enough, you don't have to drench it, but just spray some inside there, tip it upside down, shake it, let it drip out. Maybe use a can of some compressed air here to kind of blow it out a little bit. Then just work it like this, because every once in a while you'll just, under normal use, get some dust and stuff inside that you may need to clean out or have you know, taken out of there. So that's what they recommend as far as the maintenance on that. Great knife. It's durable. It feels good in the hand. It's shaped well. This was a little bit longer video than what I typically try to do, even though I am long-winded. Guys, I appreciate your time. As always, it's very important. Remember our pets. Remember our vets, the men and women that helped to maintain and give freedoms that we have, and the little furry guys, the non-furry guys, the pets that are there for us every day, every time we're feeling down. And with that, until we meet again, stay sharp, my friends. I'm out.